Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, Heather, it looks like she's out. Here we go. So, sex ed. Just kidding. That's probably not what we're here for today. We are here to talk about frauds and scams. Um, my partner, Michelle, here is the one that puts all of these together, and then you get to listen to me speak for a little bit. The best way to do these, what we found is, especially when we do them live, is just ask questions. Don't be afraid to just pop the questions up. It just helps with everybody kind of talking about it. The number one thing is I'd like to say that there may be colorful language by accident, just because that's sometimes how we speak. When it comes to frauds, none of us are special. We're all part of this. Everybody gets the emails, gets the phone calls, gets the letters, and everybody gets had. The other thing too is if this works on my 74-year-old mother, I promise it'll work for you folks. So if there's any questions right off the bat, that'd be great. Just post them or unmute yourself and ask away. Uh, yeah, and Heather, are you still on by any chance?
Did we lose Heather?
Mm, I think
Yes, I
Heather's
am.
decided to not. Oh, okay, perfect. So Heather, I've got the webinar chat open on the side there, and I'm just gonna press hello, see if everybody can see that. All right. Perfect. Okay, great. So let's start with let's make it easy. And Heather, what's one of the things that your clients were most concerned about when they reached out to you?
So I did ask from our members some early questions, just so that we've got something to kick ourselves off here. So Jenny was saying she was recently a
Oh,
victim of a
I think
scam.
we're having some connection issues there, Heather.
Okay. I'm going to turn off my video.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and I'll keep mine on. If you guys find that I'm buffering, let me know and I'll stop my video as well.
You're back up and running.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm having all sorts of connection issues. But I'll try to keep going. If okay, yeah, and if you find that I'm disconnecting, just type it into the chat bar that I'm buffering or whatever, because I won't be able
Okay.
to tell. So we were talking about banks, and I think the easiest way to look at it with frauds is uh, I joke around, but it's stranger danger. If you don't know who's contacting you, why are we answering, right? So I think the biggest thing here, and I'm just gonna take my phone. I think everybody has one of these. Everybody knows about the internet, and it seems that we put our minds somewhere else when we enter the World Wide Web or on phone calls, and we've stopped kind of listening to our instincts. We yeah, so here's the thing. Anytime somebody contacts you, be weary of it and actually don't speak with them. Um, don't give them any information because you don't know who they are. Really, let's start using that mindset of stranger danger. Unless you're 100% sure on who's contacting you, I would advise anybody, including my 74-year-old mother, to just hang up and call them yourselves. So if it's the CIBC Fraud Center, for example, that called you, uh, say thank you, hang up, and then ask yourself, first of all, am I with CIBC? Because believe it or not, that happens where we think, oh my gosh, somebody opened an account under my name, um, and then we start worrying, and we don't think appropriately. So what I want everybody to do is just take a step back and go, wait a minute, why are they contacting me? And it's my job to go find the information out. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm just going to assume everybody's nodding their heads. Yes, we get it. Um,
Yes.
so, so that's one of the big ones, right? Where the stranger danger, where I joke around with when we do some of these presentation with elderly crowds. I always say, look, you're the ones, your generation taught me about stranger danger. Your generation taught me that if something's too good to be true, it probably is. Um, so again, if you get an email, if you get a phone call, or let's go back to the 80s and 90s when we were getting letters from the Prince of Zaire asking us to invest in his new hotel. You know, we always joked around about that, but people fell for those scams, unfortunately. And as Canadians, we're known to be nice, we're known to be polite, and we're known to be helpful. And that's where they're going to attack us. They're these people are professionals. This is just, it's not just a one-off where somebody's sitting in a basement and thinking up these things, you know, within the past hour or two. These people have been defrauding the world for years and generation of generation. And we have to recognize that the folks that are doing this, many of them are coming from crushing poverty. And with the internet, you can be contacted from anywhere in the world. So whether or not you believe it to be real, just be mindful that it's probably a scam. So that's one of the biggest ones there with banks and with credit cards and transactions and so on. So one of the best ways to counter that is to be aware. Where are you using your card? Where online are you buying things? Coming up to the Christmas season now, I think most of you folks are going to receive emails that say, hey, you want a $500 gift card at Costco, or your Amazon order is on its way, but you need to put extra money into it. Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I have another question from DG.
Yeah,
And it
perfect.
says, how do we find information about crime and violence to type in detail in specific areas of the city? And then second part of that is what are the areas of frustrations for someone working at the Calgary Police Services, and what can we citizens do differently to make a difference?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's a super easy one to answer, and that's a really good question. So let's start with number one. So to find out the information about crimes and so on and so forth, I believe our website has a crime map. I wouldn't trust it because the numbers aren't really up to date all the time. However, I think what we've forgotten as a community is that word is community. So when I do these live, I ask people here, uh, you know, everybody put your hand up. So if you just want to play this little exercise with me and go, all right, so do you know one of your neighbors on either side of your house or your apartment, for example? Most of you are going to put your hands up because you might know one or both of your neighbors. And then I say, okay, keep your hand up. But the next one is who knows their neighbors on either side of them? But two houses down. And then most of the hands go down. And then I say, who knows their neighbors behind them? More hands go down. And then I say, who knows the neighbors behind them, but beside that one neighbor? And all of the hands go down most of the time. And then I get folks to look around the room and say, this is the sense of community that we have now. So to cover that second question, it is that exactly is what are we doing as a community to be a community? I think during COVID, we really became scared of ourselves. I think with the political correctness movement, the woke movement, and so on and so forth, that's been really tough on folks because we don't know what can we say to others? What can we do? Well, I'll tell you this, as a police officer, I think the toughest part for us is it's okay to tell your neighbor's kids, hey, get off the road. It's not safe. Hey, make sure, lock your doors. Or here's the other thing, just get to know your neighbor. It doesn't mean you have to like them. I can tell you that the one neighbor on the one side of us, her husband's a real pain in the butt. And he's yelled at my son for parking in front of his house and just kind of a weird duck. But the wife and the kids are just fantastic, right? So it doesn't mean you have to like them, but it means that, at least you know them, you have an idea who they are. And that's probably one of the best ways to keep our community safe, because when you see somebody into somebody else's yard and you go, man, that person doesn't live there, call us, call the non-emergency number or look over your fence and start yelling. and say, hey, you don't belong there. And obviously you're helping each other out. Uh, so to cover again that second question, that frustration for us, I think, as police officers is we answer to our citizens. However, I think we're going through a change in policing where we we almost want to tell our citizens what's good for them. And I personally, as as a police officer, 17 years, that doesn't work because police officers are citizens and citizens are police officers. So being all together, working on it, and paying attention to what's going on in our own neighborhood will make a huge difference. My partner and I here at Constable Jensen, and I can tell you that some of the quote unquote worst districts, or the poorer parts of the city, or they call it the hood, and so on and so forth, have some of the best communities because folks rely on each other, they help each other out. And what we found was that the rentals are usually the problem. It's usually the transient population that goes in and out, right? So that's one of the issues that that we see quite a bit as I'll just wait for a quick yes or no.
You're cutting in and out there a little bit, but
Okay.
I think that probably answered your question. We do have another one here that says, "What about online community? How often?" How often share scam alerts? Okay. So,
Oh yeah, I see that there from Maureen.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
where do we go as regular citizens to find out about the information on the current scams or things that we should be
So
paying attention to?
yeah, I think if everybody did this once a week, and it'll literally take you a minute to do. If you're sitting in front of this webinar right now, just open up your browser and Google current frauds and scams, and you'll be as up to date as I am on any of these things. So obviously, we get a little more because we get to see the victims firsthand, and it's frustrating for us because I can tell you this, that if you become the victim of a fraud when it comes to bank frauds, any sort of money scams, or and that's what, at the end of the day, that's what they want. It's going to be very, very, very difficult for police to find who did it, and if we do find who did it, if it's not in our jurisdiction, well, that's going to be even harder. If it's out of Canada, ugh, unless they're a country that's willing to to play with us and help us out, they're not going to waste their time with it, unfortunately. So we've had people lose from $500 to $50,000 to scammers. And when you get that phone call as a police officer and you have to say to them, well, there's nothing we can do, that's really tough. So I think the prevention is a lot better than is the only way, I think, for us as police officers to really make the point across that the only way to stop this crime is really by informing people that, you know what, it is too good to be true. I joke around with my coworkers, and when I do these conversations or these presentations, that back in the 1980s, nobody called us from Microsoft or from Apple to say, hey, we've got a great investment opportunity for you. Unless you were in the know, you never got that phone call. So if you get an email from Elon Musk right now to invest in his new Tesla model, whatever, I'm 99.999% sure that it's a scam, right? So does that make sense?
It does. Let's flip that to the other side where it's fear-based scams, whether it's the grandparent scam or your credit card has been. I had one last week that was like your TD Visa has been compromised and they purchased this and this, and you don't typically purchase this. So if you can authorize, click this one, and authorize or not, click the other one. And it sounded completely legit to me, but I hung up and then I called my credit card company just to confirm, and it totally was a scam. And I mean, I'm for the most part fairly savvy, but you like, how do you know? Is it
there's a notification and then you just always hang up and then just call people back?
Yeah, 100%. So let's look at this from a real life point of view, and not the everybody I think seen the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, and I joke around about how once we enter the phone or the internet or whatever it is, we enter the Matrix. Nobody would walk around the Stampede grounds or in a big mall during Christmas time, or very, very busy public area. None of us would walk around with a sign or a big sandwich, billboard on our bodies saying, here's my name, my date of birth, my SIN number, my phone number, my dog's name, my mother's middle name or maiden name, and so on and so forth. And yet when we go on the internet or we get these phone calls, we're like, oh my God, you're totally helping me out. We're not that advanced, believe it or not, as a society. We don't do that. Companies don't do that. So the bank will never, ever, ever, period, ever contact you about your debit card or your credit card. They're just going to cancel it, so that the next time when you go and use it, it won't work. You'll try it again, it won't work. Then you'll try your Visa. Your Visa might work because it might be through a different bank or that one wasn't affected. But what the banks do to make sure that it's not a scam, they just cancel them. And that's a lot safer, because then it makes you contact your bank. So you ask me, is there a way to tell? No, there isn't. And what you did is exactly what we should do. You can give them a quick giggle when they call you and be like, yeah, right, okay, thank you, and then just hang up. And if you're really worried, then contact your bank and contact your Visa or your MasterCard or whatever credit company you're with, and they'll give you the real answer. And it can be quite frustrating, because the other thing you mentioned is the grandparent scam, and my partner and I are trying to change that lingo into more. We have to look at it as an urgency scam, because believe it or not, young people right now, 26 to I believe 34, are some of the biggest victims of that urgency scam / grandparent scam, because the way they do it is they attack us emotionally, and they say something like, grandma, grandpa, I'm stuck in jail. Don't tell mom and dad. I need money, blah, blah, blah. Well, the first things we teach our kids is when an adult says to them or somebody else says to them, hey, don't tell anybody this. But when it starts like that, we all know, wait a minute, I need to tell somebody. You get that phone call at 2, 3 in the morning, you're not going to be equipped to deal with that conversation. So what I recommend is go, great, thank you, hang up, and call your grandkid, or call your daughter, your son, and see if your grandson's at home or not, and let them know, hey, I just got a call from Johnny Bean, and he says he's in jail. He's not my kid, he's yours to deal with. So the other thing too is what we're finding now with AI, with artificial intelligence, is the scammers want to keep you on the phone so they can record your voice. And then what they'll do with that is they'll take the information off of your Facebook, off of any of your social media, and they'll try to use them against you or against your family. And they'll, if you look at those apps that you can make the faces the faces will dance when you put music to it or whatever, it's that same kind of idea. It looks like you, but it isn't. So it's becoming tougher and tougher online to differentiate what's real and what's not. So I always tell folks, you know what, if there's even a remote chance that it's not real, then it's not. You know what I mean? Did that answer your question there?
It did. And that was slightly disconcerting and scary. And thank you for sharing.
No, absolutely. And what's funny with these is because my partner and I in our unit, we see this so often, but our patrol officers on the street, they see this daily. And what we found is fraud victims really, they really echo the feelings of sexual assault victims, because they blame themselves. They think it's their fault. They ask themselves, what could I have done? And so on and so forth. Well, let's just stop that kind of thinking and recognize that you're dealing with sharks here. You're dealing with people that are attacking all of society. You're not the problem. They are. And I see there's another question here, and I'll answer it quickly, or in a moment here. So it's that as well, right? That um, we're not the victims. We're not putting ourselves out there, but we're just not equipped with that that thought, right? Of wait a minute, this isn't right. You wouldn't walk down a dark alley at 3 o'clock in the morning. So why are we going on some of these websites, and why are we answering these phone calls or these emails, even though they might look real? You know what? We know better. So it says here, many legit organizations want a birthday. What do you recommend? That's up to you. You know what? You can create a fake profile online, uh, and nobody's going to care. You're going to get the same product. It's going to come to your address. Uh, so I think a lot of the leaders about cybersecurity, what they say is create a completely different persona, and become kind of that rock star movie star that nobody truly knows their real name and age, uh, and build yourself that, and keep track of it, right? Create a little notepad where you go, right, my name is John Smith, but from now on I'm known as Lisa McGee, and and go from there. So that's another way to do it with companies, if you don't trust them. However, uh, let's move with shopping online. If we're going to talk about frauds and credit cards and so on and so forth, uh, I'm sure everybody here shops online. Heather, do you shop online?
I can neither confirm nor deny that statement, and I'm going to plead the fifth.
I love it.
So, Heather, let me ask you a question. Do you trust Amazon?
Oh, I give them the information.
Okay,
we'll
so
say that.
okay, good. So let's play a little game here with Amazon. Jeff Bezos, whatever his name is the richest man in the history of humans. They removed a bridge in Holland for him to get his little boat through. Uh, if Amazon wasn't legit, if Amazon wasn't safe, Jeff Bezos would not be this rich. So I can confidently say that Amazon is very, very safe to shop on. Now, does that mean they might lose a package? You might buy something that never shows up. Absolutely, things happen all the time. However, speaking with Amazon representatives, what they do is anytime a product is sold on Amazon, uh, they have to produce it first. So what I mean by that is if you're a third party sales associate to Amazon, so it's not in the Amazon warehouse, it's somewhere else in the US or wherever it is in the world, Amazon has ordered it and has made sure that there's plenty and that they're trustworthy third party sellers. So feel free to shop on Amazon, but I'll warn you about this. When you buy an item and you see an item, let's say make it easy for everybody, a mug, a coffee mug, and you have two of the exact same coffee mug. One is $19.99 and the other one is $12.99. Well, I would caution you to don't worry so much about the price, but look at the reviews. Look at how many reviews the one has over the other, because that'll tell you how many people have bought it. The only time you can leave a review on Amazon is if you've purchased the product and Amazon has identified that you've purchased the product. So if you have 13,000 reviews for that one and for $19.99, and you've got 12 reviews for the one that's $12.99, I would just buy the one that's got the most amount of reviews, because then people are getting the product, they believe in it, they like it, and it's been tested and it's been bought. So that kind of covers Amazon. Now let's go with like Etsy or any of these weird little side businesses there. I would caution you. However, you're also protected as a consumer, right? So the bank will protect you and your credit card will protect you. And what I mean by that is if you don't participate in your own crime, the bank will always protect you. And what that means is you make a purchase online, they use your credit card, but then instead of charging you, $50, they charge you $50,000 on your credit card if you have that kind of limit. Well, that'll be the credit card company's fault for allowing that transaction to go through. However, if you bounced back and forth with the company and you said, they said something like, oh yeah, it's only $50, but we need, $1,000 deposit. Then you give it to them. Then they say, oh, wait a minute, we'll refund it, but now we need you to send us $2,500. and it becomes this ping pong game between you and your bank account, the bank's going to look at it and say, you know what, we gave you access to your bank account, but uh, that's not right. You can't do things like that. You need to be more aware, right? So as soon as companies start asking you for money that's not agreed on the website, then yeah. Let me answer Maureen's question here. Maybe you can mention that we should use our mouse to hover over the email address, suspected legitimate companies as some or their name. Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Maureen. So on emails, you might get a wicked deal from Canadian Tire. You might get a wicked deal from Amazon or Costco. Feel free to open it. Opening it's not going to cause any issues because then you're just getting into the content of the letter. So that's fine of opening it. But if you know it's a scam right off the bat, there's a bunch of stuff you can do, i.e., you can just delete it, forget about it. You can click the three little dots, or sorry, you highlight the email, you click the three little dots, and it'll ask you, do you want to put it in junk? And then it'll say, is it phishing or is it junk, or do you want to block this email company? So if you have folks that can help you out, that can show you how to do that, that's one of the best ways to do it. And then the more we block some of these senders, the less emails you're going to get. But unfortunately, they're just going to change their email address and you'll get something else. So absolutely. Here's the other thing too. When you get into the content of the email, never click the links that they send you. Because, for example, if you get one from Amazon and you click the Amazon link, it might send you to a fake website. It's a complete clone of the Amazon website, but it'll bring you to your login, and it'll start asking you a bazillion questions. And all they want to do is they're just gathering all this information on you. It's like a Trojan horse, right? They send it into the village, it stays there for a while, and then when they're ready to attack, that's what they do. Here I got one from Google Pixel 6. So obviously that's somebody's phone, I believe. How do you know whether a company is legitimate? Some clothing companies look real. Yeah, that's on you. Unfortunately, I can't tell you if they're legit or not. The only way you can kind of look at it is through reviews. You can do a kind of a reverse search. So let's say you're on a clothing company. You're not sure if they're real or not. At the bottom, they're always going to have about us. They always have to have a physical location. You go to any website, they need to have one of those because of government rules. So you can look, okay, do they have a real location? Do they have a phone number? Can I call them? But again, if you think by any chance that it's just too good to be true, it probably is. And then the reverse search is just look them up on Google. Just say, okay, Mark and Susie's best jeans in Chicago. Google that, Mark and Susie's best jeans in Chicago review. And I promise you that somebody somewhere has left a review, or if they've been scammed, there'll be some sort of chat room that'll be mentioning that it is a scam. Heather, what do you got?
So I just want to recap that a little bit because you used a lot of technological lingo in there.
Yeah.
So basically, if anybody receives an email, even if it's from TELUS or Amazon, it's, with links, it's probably best to not click the links in any of those emails and just go directly to the website and then log in and do whatever it is that you need to do. Is that kind of the safest way to do it?
Yeah, 100%. And I know it's an extra step that we're all taking, and the internet's supposed to make things easier, and it is. And that's the thing about AI as well that I'll mention quickly after. But yeah, if you get an email, don't click the links. It's just go to the website yourself. And if you're not sure, if you can't use the website and you're not internet savvy like my mom, just call them. Just Google TELUS, Google whatever you were kind of looking at, and give them a shout, and just say, hey, not sure. I got an email from your company. Not sure if this is real or not. I'm interested in this deal. Where can I get it? How can I get it? And if the company doesn't have a directory where you can call them, there's always going to be a spot where you can send them an email, And then a lot of companies now, when you're on their website, you can do a chat. There's a live chat option.
Okay. So we've kind of covered the urgency scams. We've covered the links in your emails. We've covered the voice messages, things that come to your phone. Now, sometimes like when you, like I have my bank set up that if there's any charges on my credit card, I get a text and it tells me that I spent money.
Only so much you can do. So yeah, is there any kind of other scams that we should be aware of, especially over Christmas, or things that we should be doing? Like if we do shop with Amazon, porch pirates, or is there any specific holiday scams that come up that you guys have dealt with that maybe we need to be reminded of?
Yeah, that one's another good one. So any seasons will come changes, right? So whether you're in March and you start getting those CRA emails because you haven't paid your taxes, which you have your entire life, this is the joke. If the government wants your money, they're just going to take it. Coming up to the Christmas season, we're talking about porch pirates. We're talking about all these things. There's a few options you can do. Number one, if somebody steals your package, there's nothing we can do about that. So make sure there's either going to be somebody at home. If you live in a building, I know Amazon has drop boxes now where they bring in the package, they put in a box, and then they send you the code for that box specifically for you to pick it up. So I know that most of the newer apartment buildings are going to that because it helps with theft, it helps with security, and so on. If you live in a home, in a house, one of the best ways to do it is give them a location to drop off your package. If you have a little box outside where you put a lock on it, give them the combo, and they'll put it in, they'll lock it, and that'll be that. The other way to do it is with technology now. It's very cheap to attach a little security camera where you can just monitor it with your phone. It's not being monitored by anybody else but you. So then, if somebody does steal your package and the camera's in a good position and we're able to identify the offender, that makes a big difference for us as well, right? So that's another way of dealing it. And again, like I said, anything online, just be wary, right? You're going out in the public, and anything can happen to you at the mall. Anything can happen to you in public, and that's one of the many ways to protect ourselves. It's just be aware, be mindful, and ask yourself, if this was me, how would I steal it? And I know it sounds dumb, but ask your friends, ask your family. How would you deal with this? How would you steal it? Where should I put it? And support each other as a community that way.
Excellent. So let's actually go back to the government scams and those phone calls. I got one saying that the government was looking for me, and I was actually working in the EI department. So I did have a chuckle over that one. But they do call and they say that you're going to go to jail. You need to. It's scary, especially for new Canadians that aren't used to the scams and they don't know how the Canadian government works. Do you have suggestions for the best way to, if you receive an email or a phone call from the government saying something, but you don't trust it? Or, is there a suggestion? Do you hang up and try the website, or what are your thoughts around that?
A few ways. So as a police officer, if we call someone, for example, we'll do our best to identify ourselves. We'll do our best that you understand that we're legitimate. But at the end of the day, we also understand that if you hang up on us and don't believe us, you're absolutely right. And that's the best thing you can do. Most of these fraud calls, though, what they do is it's a computer that sends out a million phone calls at once using one phone number. And it'll appear on all of our phones, sequentially pretty much. And then when you go and pick it up, you'll say hello, nobody's on the line. You'll say hello again, nobody's there. And by the third or fourth time, somebody will pick up, and all that means is that the computer alerted somebody in that building that, oh, somebody's on the phone ready to be scammed. And then what they're going to do is they're going to say things like, it's our CMP officer, blah, 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 and you've got warrants. Great. All I can tell you is if you don't recognize the number, let's go back to the 90s where we had color display, and it was game changer because now you didn't have to answer phones from telemarketers. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but we don't get phone calls from telemarketers anymore because everybody's kind of wise to their thing, and everything's happening online, right? So secondly, the police will never, ever, ever, ever call you and threaten you that you're going to jail if you don't buy gift cards, if you don't send money, if you don't do this, don't do that. That will never happen. That's not what we do. Anytime we have to arrest somebody, we obviously have to go in person. We're never going to tell somebody that they have a warrant over the phone. It's just not how we do business. And you will never hear that from any police services in Canada or the US. That's just not something that police do. Same thing with the government, and it comes to taxes. Like I said earlier, they're just going to take your money, and that'll be that. They're just going to garnish your wage, or they'll send you a letter in a brown envelope, and again, contact them and say, am I in the rears with my taxes? If you're really worried, or if you got a phone call from a police officer, just hang up and call the closest district to you. But 99% of the times, they're never going to call you back because they're just going to move on to the next phone call. That's pretty much it. Again, like most of us are really good people, and we've never dealt with the police. So to make people think that you're going to jail, yes, it's scary, but stop yourself. Again, it's that urgency scam, right? They're trying to abuse you emotionally and psychologically, and ask yourself, wait a minute, I don't even speed, or I don't even, you know what I mean? Like, so even the worst people in the world that have done horrible crimes, we would never call them. We just go up to their house and we arrest them, or we arrest them in public. So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I guess
I love what Elizabeth wrote.
That was good.
Your social security number has been compromised. Yeah, I like that, Elizabeth. It's so true, right? But they don't know who they're talking to. They don't even know who they're calling. They have no idea. And like I said, all they use is technology. They use a computer to make 1,000 phone calls at once. And the government is getting wiser, and the phone companies are getting better, where with new updated phones and phone plans, you actually get those. It'll say they'll just block them. They won't even let the phone calls go through anymore because they'll say possible fraud or something to that effect, and the phones won't even take those calls anymore.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any other questions? I think that's it.
Okay. One thing I'd like to add for everybody's security, I want everybody to download, either if you're using Android or Apple, download the Google Wallet or the Apple Wallet, and download and put your credit cards and your debit cards onto your phone. That's the safest way to tap, and that's the safest way to keep your information safe. The caveat to that is when you go shopping, make sure you have one of your cards on you just in case your phone doesn't work or they don't take tap. We were just in the US last week, my wife and I, my kids, and a lot of places take tap using the phone, and they'll use Google Pay or Apple Pay. And the way that works is your bank has made an agreement with Google and Apple to say that they're using a very, very encrypted system to do these transactions, and it's extremely safe. You can use it to purchase things online, and it's the greatest security you can use as of now on your when it comes to debit and credit cards.
Okay, and what happens if you say lose your phone?
Here's the thing: nobody can have access to your phone, right? So by downloading those apps, it automatically makes you put in a password for your phone. Um, so I know a lot of people don't have passwords or don't have any of those things on their phones. But if you download those apps, it's automatic. Whereas if you lose your wallet, somebody will have access to your cards instantly and they can go and tap everywhere. Should we shred only personal info and bank statement, whole sheet of paper? Yeah, shredding's always the way to do it. And then I make my wife laugh because I put half of it in the garbage and half of it in the recycling. Or if you
I
have a
do
green
that.
bin, just put it in your, yeah. If you have a green bin, just put it in your green, put some of it in your green bin as well and compost it all. Or if you have a fireplace, just burn it. That's just another way to do it. But yeah, there's not a lot that they can do that way. Believe it or not, you have a lot more information online than you do by getting mail anymore. We don't get a lot of mail that way anymore. Your bank statements won't have a lot of information on it compared to what they're going to try to do to you via your email or your phone calls.
Excellent. That's good advice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well,
Anybody
I think
else?
I think the conversation really goes around. Let's be mindful that entering the World Wide Web or looking at our hotmails or any kind of email, we're just walking into the stampede or we're walking into the saddle dome and just stranger danger. If some random stranger came up to you on the street and said, "Hey, I have a great investment opportunity," you'd be like, "No, you don't." And you just keep walking. Or if somebody said to you, "Hey, you're under arrest. You need to give me some gift cards," you'd be like, "No, I don't." But yet when we can't see their faces or when like it doesn't make sense and we lose that sense of stranger danger or that spidey sense where we're like, yeah, this guy's trying to, they're trying to have me, they're trying to defraud me.